So the dark night of the soul, as a lot of spiritual teachers explain, is a period in somebody's life where they're going through a very difficult time. And the reason why they're going through a difficult time, it's because they're shedding an old identity, an identity of how they saw themselves before, but they're not aware. You're actually not aware that you're shedding that. In my case, I was not aware that I was shedding my old identity. All I knew is that I was going through so much pain. I did not understand, like I couldn't stop crying, and I did not understand what was happening to me. So I only realized later, right? It's because you're shading that old identity, but the new identity hasn't emerged yet. So you're in a space where you're feeling lost, you're feeling confused, you don't understand what's happening, you feel like the universe has abandoned you. Eckhart Tolle, one of the spiritual teachers, explains that you're going through an ego death. So the ego likes to be attached to something, whether that's an identity, whether that's a story that you get attached to, but the ego has to find something to attach to. So when you're losing that, your ego doesn't want to let go, and that is why it's so painful. Most of the time, the dark night of the soul happens when you experience a major loss in your life. It can be the loss of a job, it can be the loss of a loved one, maybe it's a death or it's a breakup. It can be like a major move that you make, and then suddenly you find yourself like in a new place where you feel lost, you feel confused. And it can be any major loss that has an impact on your identity. So for example, if your job is a major part of your identity, or you have a person that you've been dating for a long time and you see yourself as growing old together, just being together forever, but you lose that person due to a breakup, or they die, or you lose your job, suddenly you find yourself asking, like, who am I then? I don't even know myself. If I don't have this job, who am I, right? You start to question who you are, because your identity and your ego was so attached to the idea of, having this job, doing this thing in the world, being with this person, having a family together, growing old together. It was so attached to that story, but then it suddenly is taken away from you. Then you're going to start to question your identity, right? The reason why it's so painful, the ego does not want to let go to what it's attached to. It would rather hold on. So you're resisting so much, your ego is resisting so much, but that thing has been taken away, right? There's nothing that you can do to bring it back, right? But your ego is resisting so much. That is why it's such an excruciating pain. You have to go through the pain of experiencing that loss, right? And then come on the other side. But when you come on the other side, there's so much peace and there's so much freedom. I'm very happy to answer more questions about the dark night of the soul, and happy to share my experience.